"Sir," the boy said softly, his voice steady despite the cold. "The dog in your photo isn't gone. He's alive." Officer Daniel Hayes felt the world tilt. Snow drifted quietly through the nearly empty park, settling on the bench where he sat and clinging to the boy's thin jacket. The image showed a German shepherd with alert eyes and a proud stance, wearing a working vest that once represented trust and purpose. That dog's name was Bruno. 5 years earlier, during a large city operation, Bruno had vanished. Search teams came back empty-handed. Reports were filed. Time passed. Eventually, the department marked Bruno as lost beyond recovery. Daniel had been forced to grieve without answers, carrying the weight quietly through every shift since. The boy beside him couldn't have been more than 13. His gloves didn't match. His shoes were too thin for the weather. Yet his eyes were clear, certain like someone who didn't guess but knew. "I see him every morning," the boy continued, "near the old rail yard. Right before sunrise." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to dismiss it. Hope had a way of reopening wounds he barely survived closing. But his hands began to tremble. The boy explained how an aging German shepherd emerged from the shadows each day. The dog limped, his fur worn and patchy, but he still wore a torn harness with faded markings. The dog listened when sirens passed. He sat when told to stay. He waited. "He's trained," the boy said. "And he's waiting for someone." Daniel stood without realizing it. Against his instincts, against the quiet fear of disappointment, he followed the boy. They walked through streets most people ignored, past flickering lights and silent buildings, until they reached the edge of the abandoned rail yard. The wind cut sharply, and Daniel's heart pounded with every step. Beneath twisted metal and concrete, a familiar shape stirred. The dog lifted his head slowly, eyes cloudy but searching. "Bruno," he whispered. The dog froze. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the tail moved slow, unsure like the sound had awakened something long asleep. The dog stood, pain forgotten, and walked forward. Daniel dropped to his knees in the snow. The reunion shattered him, not just because Bruno was alive, but because the dog had endured years of loneliness, guided only by training and faith, and because the one who had kept him alive was a boy the world never noticed. That night, Daniel brought them both home. He fed the boy, gave him warm clothes, and made calls that changed lives. The department reopened records. The truth surfaced. Bruno had been separated during chaos and survived on instinct alone. Years later, neighbors would see an officer walking with a young man and an aging German shepherd. They wouldn't know how close all three came to being forgotten. But Daniel knew.